webinars or teleseminars to build your list, to sell products? Do you feel like maybe you're having trouble? They're not working, it's not converting, people aren't signing up? What's going on with you webinars and teleseminars? I wanted to talk to you today about how to create a great teleseminar or webinar, something that really converts for your audience. And I know that I hear a lot from you guys that that's a stress point. So I'm Michele. I want to welcome you to Entrepreneurs Take Action, the podcast. And we are going to start talking about how to create a converting webinar. Now, I want you to know that I'm going to use the word webinar throughout this entire video, but it also applies to teleseminars or talks, lots of different things, okay? So, whenever we are deciding on a webinar, first of all, what do we use these webinars for? You can use them for building your list. You can use them to sell a product. You could create an evergreen webinar that is an ongoing sale of a product, or create a webinar that's a launch for a new product. You can use webinars to get people to register for your events. Lots of different things for you to do there, but to make them convert takes a couple of very specific strategies. The first thing is you got to get people to sign up, right? That's the first point of conversion. Them actually saying, yes, I want this webinar. A couple of things. Number one, be sure that you are, your topic is what they want. Not what you know they need, what they want. The second piece of that is to name this webinar very strategically, right? Name it in a way that's something that they are looking for. And just like you would a blog post or an email subject line or something like that, you want something that they go, yes, I have to have that. I wrote down a couple of examples, a couple of webinars that I've done over the years that worked very well. How to add 1,012 fans to your Facebook fan page in the next 30 days. That converted very highly. 21,085 views on one Facebook post. How to do that. The secrets to making decisions, taking action, and seeing real results. That was a good one. 5 ways to guarantee blog post engagement, right? Think about what it is that you do and how you can take that and make that extremely intriguing. I want you to, be looking for what's their question. Do they feel like their blog posts aren't getting engagement? Can you do a webinar on that topic? Now, it's extremely important for this to be a converting webinar. It has to lead somewhere. So you need to be thinking about, what am I moving them to? And how does this apply to that? Okay, very important. So let's talk about the design of your webinar. First of all, I believe that webinars should be about an hour whenever you have something that you want to convert people to, specifically if you're trying to sell something. If you are just driving to a freebie, then they could be a little shorter. But I'm going to talk to you about designing a 1-hour webinar that sells a product. And the first thing is that the first 10 minutes are really about you, who you are, what you're going to be teaching them on the webinar, really getting them engaged. I want you to give them a couple of good nuggets really right out the gate so you don't lose their attention. But, this first 10 minutes include your story, what you're teaching them, what they're going to get out of the day, and how you're getting started. And then you're going to move into looking at the actual content. And I split my content. So let's say, for example, you're going to teach them 3 tips on something. You would want to teach them tip number 1, teach them tip number 2, and then we're going to take a little break between tip 2 and tip 3 and actually talk about what you're going to be selling at the end of the call, right? So it's the first time that you mention that you have another program that happens to apply to these 3 tips. Once you've talked a little bit about that program, you're not necessarily trying to sell it at that point. You're just starting to talk about it and mention what's going on and what they're going to learn in that product or in that program. And then you come back and you teach your 3rd point. Now, let's say, for example, you had 5 tips. Maybe you teach 1, 2, and 3, and you take that break between 3 and 4 and then go back and teach 4 and 5. Okay, so you see how I did that? I split that content and I speak about the promotion that I'm going to make at the end of the call in the middle of the content. Once you've gotten through the content, then to make the transition over to the offer. At this point you should have about 15 minutes left in your hour. It's great for you to have this 15-minute window I'll tell you why I want you to set it at 15 minutes, because inevitably you will only have 10 or 8. You will talk more than you think you're going to talk. You know, there's a great quote that I always say to my clients, and it is that there are 3 talks, right? It's the one you write, the one you practice, and the one you deliver. So I'm telling you that no matter what you do, you will probably have more content than you think. So now we're at the point where we're going to transition over to the offer, and there's a couple of really important things for you to look at here. Number 1, you've just taught them some great stuff, but you have to leave them with a problem. So what is that next problem for them? You need to be able to say, so listen, I just taught you, so I just did one. I taught you 5 steps to designing an email campaign, and now you know how to, what pieces you need to have in there, but you still have a problem. You don't know how to actually write the emails. You don't know how to integrate those emails into your overall marketing campaign that includes social media that's talking about the same thing at the same time. So what I want you to show them is that, yes, you've taught them great content, but there's more. They still have a problem. And guess what? Your product, program, or service is the answer to that problem. So that I want you to look at that last 10 to 15 minutes to be able to talk about that. Now you have to remember that for a webinar to convert, it's pretty much just like having a sales page, right? You have to move them emotionally through the decision of buying. So you're going to have to give them some limiters like we do on a sales page, right? What are your limiters? Maybe it's just that this price is only good for the next 24 hours. Maybe it is that you're only going to take 12 people into this program. What are your limiters? You also want to give them bonuses. So for taking action right now, what is it that they're going to get, right? What can you give them that is extra? So once you look at the limiters and the bonus, and also I think it's extremely important that you talk to them about their guarantee. A lot of times in my webinars, you'll hear me say, so listen, for all of you that are sitting on the fence, I want to talk to you about the fact that you cannot lose here. Right? I have a guarantee for you. If this isn't right, I have a 100% money back guarantee. And so I talk about the guarantee because you have to remember that you've got people out there that, number 1, learn in multiple ways. Number 2, make decisions in different ways. So some of them are fast action takers. They're just going to buy because they are buyers. Some of them need to think about it. They're processors. Some of them need to know that they're going to be taken care of. They need a guarantee, right? Some of them need till the next day. So those are some of the things I wanted to talk to you about for webinars. Now, before I go, I want to talk to you about questions and answer sections in a webinar that you're trying to sell a product or service. You want to be really careful about how you do Q&A. If you feel like you must do Q&A during this webinar, I want you to do it earlier. So maybe you do Q&A, you take a couple of questions in the middle of the webinar, in the meat of it. When you get to the end, when you're in that last 15 minutes, you've transitioned over to the sales process. You do not take questions because, remember, you're trying to move people through an emotional decision. All sales are emotional. If you have ever bought a lollipop for a kid in the grocery store checkout line, that was an emotional sale. Right? All sales are emotional. So when you start to move people through that process, you don't want to break their process of moving to the point of buying by someone popping up and saying, so listen, can you tell me if that comes in red? Right? Any of those kind of questions will throw people out of their process of buying. So do Q&A kind of early. And I will tell you, I have done webinars where I've done a little bit of Q&A at the end, but it was pretty much staged, meaning that I knew the questions that were going to be answered. They were going to be mostly about my product or service. And so again, remember, it's not tricking someone into buying. Don't freak out on me here, right? It is about helping them make an emotional decision to do something that they need to improve their life, their business, their relationship with their kids, their branding, whatever that is. All right? I hope this helps you to go out there and create those webinars that convert. I'm Michele Sissom. Be decisive. Bye-bye.